This is the award-winning Lee Pitts Live.
Brought to you by the North Law Firm. For car accidents and negligent security cases, call Joe at 239-337-1191. By Crime Stoppers of Southwest Florida. Report crimes and get paid with nobody knowing your identity. 1-800-700-TIPS. And by Lee Health. Southwest Florida, welcome to another edition of Lee Pitts Live. So glad that you stayed with us this Sunday morning. You're going to be thrilled as well. Where are we? Well, we're at one of our favorite places. We get here maybe every other year. Great accommodations with the school district of Lee County, so we're so thrilled to be here for the next 4 weeks. Our first guest on the show is the head man in charge, the superintendent, Dr. Greg Adkins. Dr. Adkins, welcome to Lee Pitts Live again.
Oh, glad to be here.
It's always a thrill to get you here. I know you told me to call you Greg, but I try to be formal all the time. So if I call you Greg, people think me and you on a personal level, which I want them to. And I'm going to call you Greg from time to time to make me look big time.
There you go.
All right. A lot has happened since you become the superintendent. And one of the great things that has happened is the increase in security throughout the school district, and also the half-cent sales tax approval. We'll cover a wide range of those things. But let's go with it. Did I get it right? Was it 1 cent or was it half a cent?
Half a cent.
Right.
Yeah.
When I first started to hear about half a cent, I thought, oh, that's no money. But that really adds up to a large amount of money. Right. And I want you to kind of unpack. It's going to be close to $40 million. Would that come in a 1 year's time?
Well, actually, yeah, it's closer to $59 million in 1 year's time. And we're expecting, actually, as our area increases in size, number of residents, that may even go up even higher than that.
Okay.
So over the course of the 10 years of this half-penny sales tax, we could realize a revenue around $790 million conservatively. Mm-hmm. It could even be higher than that.
Something like that, I would think that could have happened long ago, but it's happening under your watch. How did that make you feel personally, you and the board, to see this come down the track and the citizens turned out in great numbers? I mean, it was, I can't remember the exact number, but I remember looking at the results. It was like overwhelmingly in favor of helping supporting what you're trying to get accomplished here in our school district and going towards a world-class school system. Go ahead.
Right. Well, I think it certainly says a lot about our community and our community's commitment to a quality education for their students. This is something that's going to help our kids into the foreseeable future. You're talking about being able to build buildings and provide the capacity that we need for our students, but also the technology. And you had mentioned security. I mean, security is, of course, first and foremost in our minds, and this is going to help us stay really on top of security improvements long term. And I think, we've really done something here as a community as a whole that really give back to our kids. I'm
going to come back to security, but I want you to know that about 3 months ago, maybe two, I interviewed Chief Derek Diggs of the Lee County of the Fort Myers Police Department, and he seemed very excited about the partnership that you guys have in terms of the schools that are located within the city of Fort Myers and what their law enforcement officers are doing to ensure security there. And he talked about that, but I'd like you to talk about the relationships you're having with the different law enforcement officers.
Well, Chief Diggs, when he arrived on the scene, he wanted to get police officers, community police officers in our schools. I mean,
before Parkland.
Before Parkland.
Yeah, he did say that, and I was like,
right.
Before Parkland or just a reaction? He said, no, go.
No, absolutely.
So we got a witness right here.
Right, he came in ahead of time, and we were already in the process of working with him to make that happen at a couple of our schools. Franklin Park and Fort Myers Middle is where we were working, but then Parkland happened, and the rest is history, as they say. But it's a great working relationship. We now have an SRO in every single one of our buildings. So the city of Fort Myers really stepped up to the plate, and city council and the mayor, and of course Chief Diggs. And then also, if you look at the county commissioners and our new sheriff and our prior sheriff, they all stepped up to the plate and put a resource officer in every one of those buildings. And then the city of Cape Coral and that city council. So all of our municipalities have really embraced the school district and have made sure that our Sanibel Island, I'd be remiss not to mention Island of Sanibel's been doing that for years. And what's really neat is when I walk around and visit these schools, the relationship these school resource officers have with kids. They're out there in the hallways, they're out there on the playground, they're in the classrooms working with kids and developing those positive relationships.
There's some type of effort around picking the right type of officers who can fit well in that environment, love working with children, good at that kind of thing?
Absolutely. That's something all of our municipalities work real hard to do. First of all, they have, it's a volunteer program, so what I mean by that is they volunteer to do that responsibility. So our school resource officers want to be school resource officers, so that's very important. And then, of course, those human relation skills, the ability to make a difference in a child's life, that's something that they're looking for.
Now, you talked about that close to $50 million in 1 year. You mentioned technology is going to improve, security. Are there any other things we need, the big picture items that we're going to see realized as a result of that 0.5% sales tax?
Well, one of the things that you'll see from a security perspective is if you look at our buildings, we're hardening our buildings. So the design changes. So if you go like the Bonita Springs High School where they have window placement, for example, is a little bit higher. We have what's called, it's higher off the ground, so it's more than, so somebody can't just peer in the building, but yet you have a window so you can get that natural light into those classrooms, which is important. You have single point entry, but not only just single point entry, trying to do it as aesthetically pleasing, because if you think about a community, you want a building not to look like a prison, you want it to look like a school. But still, you still want it to be safe. So integrating security into the design of the building moving forward, and making sure, like if you were to walk up to a building right now, most of our buildings have video surveillance. So, well, they all have video surveillance, but they have now a video system that you show an ID before you can even get into the building. So all of those things you see moving forward.
And I could notice the difference in security, which was a good thing when I actually came here today for the first time after 2 years to ingress and egress of that. Back in the day, when I was in high school and in elementary school, we used to just have a chain on the door. Lock the doors with a chain. Those days are long gone, huh?
Those are long gone. In fact, we can't even do that anymore, obviously, because of fire, or any other type of emergency where you have to exit a building. Can you imagine? And the building would be chained. Yeah, I saw that when I was in Akron. Okay. Yeah, I saw that in those schools.
And I never thought about there was a fire hazard. We just lock them out. And for full disclosure, I went to a school that was really located in a high crime environment, and the principals were it was almost like that movie Lean on Me, but that's another story. Luckily I got a decent education and turned out okay in life. When you look 5 years down the road at where Lee County School District would have come as a result of the 0.5% sales tax, what are some things we're going to see?
Well, I think first of all, you're going to see that all of our kids will have a state-of-the-art facility where they'll be going to school. Because this allows us not only to build additional buildings that we need to take up the growth that we have to deal with, but also allows us to make improvements in existing buildings. So if you think about Franklin Park, pretty old facility. Rather than just having us go on and having to deal with maintaining that facility, those kids in that area will have a new facility, a renovated facility. Same with Cypress Lake Middle School.
The school busing, safety has been implemented around school busing as well. Go.
Okay, in terms of school bus safety, one of the things that we're trying to do is work with our cities and municipalities to make, of course, our school bus stops safer. So we have a meeting actually this week over in Cape Coral to help us do that. I think also when it comes to technology, one of the things that you'll see in the near future is us improve our technology to where we can actually have students located on buses, so we know that Johnny is on this particular school bus and is going to be dropped off at this particular site at a certain time. So the technology will be there. We'll be able to have these card readers, so we'll be able to actually implement that. So a parent could actually know, what time their kid is going to arrive home. Now today we have the Where's My Bus app, which allows you to know where the bus is, but in the very, very near future, I think we're going to move to where you know where the actual student is.
How many students are being moved around on the buses per day? Roughly,
roughly it's about 49,000 of our students our transport or using a school bus.
The sidewalks are an issue and lighting as well. Go.
Yes, our bus stops, a lot of our kids have to access bus stops without being able to use a sidewalk or where there's not adequate lighting. So what we would like to do is continue to work with the county, work with our cities, so we can improve that. You think about Lehigh Acres, for example. Not a lot of sidewalks out in Lehigh. Even the city of Cape Coral, very few sidewalks. And so if we can implement those types of things, those infrastructure improvements, I think that our kids will be a lot better off.
What can citizens do, particularly as it relates to getting that infrastructure in place? I mean, when people are sitting here listening to this right now, saying, "Well, we should have sidewalks for our kids," but in general, we should have a proper sidewalk. What they need to talk to their local politicians?
Yeah, I think we need to talk to our local policy leaders, or politicians, elected officials. I think that's important. To let them know, because do we really want to be a community in the United States that continually, year in and year out, gets reported as one of the most dangerous communities when it comes to pedestrians and our bikers? I think we really don't. So if we really start to invest in our community's infrastructure, I think it improves the quality of life for not just our kids, but our citizens in general.
Mm-hmm. You taking it upon yourself to make yourself available to people. I noticed that you moving around in the community. I see you at various events within the community. This whole connecting with the community, how has that been in terms of your growth, in terms of other things that you may have thought that you knew were going on in the community that you're learning from talking to people?
Well, I think that you have to get out there and hear, what are the pressure points, what are the concerns, so when it comes to whether we're staffing schools, making improvements in our schools, security of our students, how we're transporting our students, all those things, we get feedback from community members. So just as an example, transportation, we hear a lot about student choice, and should we make improvements in that? That comes from when you're walking around and talking to people. So what we'd like to do in the very near future is move to a proximity-based student assignment system, so you can have choices as a parent of 14 or 17 is just too many choices right now, and traveling all over to get there. But bringing that down to maybe 5 or 6 high-quality choices right close to where you live, that's where we'd like to transition to in the near future.
I see. The Jared Edith, the Director of Diversity here at Lee County School District, last time he was on our show with you, he did an outstanding job. You had about 4 months since that time, and you understand that you are continuing to develop your relationship with community-based organizations, and you have some things going on with the Lee County branch of the NAACP?
We sure do. We have a great relationship with NAACP, and we have a very good agreement in place. What you're going to see in the near future is we're adding to Mr. Edie's department, so a couple different positions. One is a diversity coach that we hope will help him in training staff and also working with kids to close those achievement gaps and really equip our teachers with strategies that work with all of the diversity that we have here in Lee County. And then we've got a position that's going in with Mr. Williams, who's our staff attorney, also a member of the NAACP, Mr. Williams. But he's going to work with the coordinator for civil rights and equity, so we can really, I think, be really state-of-the-art in that area. I mean, really be one of the premier districts, I think, across the state of Florida, the nation, in terms of how we handle those types of issues. Because those issues are important. He's got experience in Miami-Dade. He was over there for a while, and he's bringing some of that experience to us, and we think the formation of those positions are going to help us with our obligations and agreement with the NAACP.
When we use the word diversity in a school district, not every nuance of it, but how, just in a broad text, how do you define diversity in a school district?
Well, diversity in the school district is really, you have to think about the many, many, many different types of people that attend school. So it's not just racial diversity, it's also, equity in terms of gender diversity. It is also cultural and ethnicity. All of that's important. We've got kids that come here from all over the world, and we have to be sensitive to their needs. And our job is to get all of them ready to be the very best that that they can be. And in order to do that, you have to understand where these people are coming from. And that's a lot of what the work that Mr. Eady does is he and his team help, again, equip our teachers for the many, many different types of students. Socioeconomic diversity, we certainly see it here, and understanding how to deal with those issues.
Language, religion, all
Oh,
types
yeah.
of things.
Oh, absolutely.
About a month ago, I had Carl Burnside, the principal at Dunbar High School, world-renowned tech school, Microsoft certified and all of that. I don't know if you got a chance to see that interview, but he got a chance to actually go up to Congress and talk about ways to improve their education. What was your thoughts about that school and Carl Burnside's work?
Well, Carl Burnside has done a remarkable job at Dunbar High School. I mean, I remember when he started there, and you think of how far he's come in really a relatively short period of time. I mean, that school is on the map. I mean, absolutely on the map. Think about this. He has had not just one, but 2 Microsoft World Champions. And
That's on the map.
And then this past year with Kevin DeMaculanga, Kevin is the only representative from the United States in our whole country that is a Microsoft World Champion. And that kid attends Dunbar High School.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And one of the things he brought out, he said has improved, but he still said that there should be a waiting list for students to go to Dunbar High School, with it being one of the best high schools in the world, but yet there's still openings for students.
Right.
What's your thoughts on why that is the case?
Well, I think one of the things is that there's still this perception, some of our historical, that IB at Fort Myers High School, for example, may be the only way to go for a strong segment of our population. But we also have IB at Dunbar High School, so getting that message out there. But I think parents have so many strong choices in terms of where to send their kids to school that not every single one of our schools have those waiting lists like we'd like to see. We'd love for everybody to get their first choice. Now the good news is the strong majority, I mean, I think it's in the 80%, are getting their first choice. And I think it's up to 90 when you talk about in first 1, 2, 3 choices. But we would love to see that even improve.
And we're slowly going to the end of the school year. Graduations are coming up. Are we going to? How are we looking in terms of percentage of students who are graduating, and what are some benchmarks you're looking at in terms of academic performances?
Well, I think again, I'm really hoping for another record-setting year. We have set a record in the district, I think, the last 3 consecutive years, with this past graduation being the highest graduation rate that we've ever seen in district history. And the great news about that as well is we're closing achievement gaps with that graduation rate. So what we're seeing is a graduation rate about 82%, but if you look at just our high schools, just the traditional ones, that's looking to be more closer to 91%. And
congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling really good about the work that our high school principals and our teachers are doing, and the kids. Kids are working hard and graduating on time. But I'm looking this year to even break that existing. So, here we are, 4th or 5th time in a row of breaking records here in Lee County. So I'm happy about that.
Thanks, and keep up the good work. You were a former teacher, assistant principal, superintendent of the school district. I want you to take your expertise and take about 30 seconds or so, look into that camera, and tell people what they need to be doing this summer to keep their children's minds stimulated, and if there's some program that the district they can tap into as well, let's keep it moving.
Okay. Well, what I would say to you is this: make sure your kids get engaged in all kinds of extracurricular activities, involve them in some type of summer enrichment program, take them on field trips, travel. We've got a great program. Again, Mr. Eady has Support Our Students, wonderful program where kids learn soft skills, interviewing, finances, but they also get to work as an intern with like the city of Fort Myers, school district of Lee County, and other local business leaders. So I would encourage parents to keep your kids involved. And I always want to say this: read. Encourage your kids to read. That is just so
even during
important.
summer break.
Absolutely.
Well, Mr. Superintendent, former school teacher, former assistant principal, former principal, thanks for those words of advice for all of our parents out there, okay?
All righty. Thank
I look
you.
forward to getting you back on the show.
All right.
All right, stay right there. The saying goes on this particular show, for those who say it can't be done, they are usually interrupted by those like Greg, Adkins, and all the other fine people here at the Lee County School District who are doing it. We'll be right back. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching Lee Pitts Live. Of course, I'm Lee Pitts, the host of Lee Pitts Live. We're here at the Holiday Inn Airport in Fort Myers, and I want you to continue to watch Lee Pitts Live on television, on YouTube, and of course, listen to us on radio. But to get all of your shows to come right to you, just click on that subscribe button right there, and Lee Pitts Live will come right to you, your time, your way. That's Lee Pitts Live.